Do you notice anything of significance, Watson?
No, Holmes, but I'll be sure to keep an eye out.
Ah, Mr. Holmes, come to put your tuppence in, have you? Very public-spirited, I'm sure. You might as well have a look at this, then. I know you won't leave until you do.
Prudence demands that we find out what Gregson knows before we volunteered any information.
Just so, Holmes. But if Anna is alive, it would seem to me that she's in grave danger.
Grave danger indeed, my friend. Which is exactly why I have no desire to spend precious hours at the yard explaining the obvious to the police. Watch your words closely, Doctor.
I'll be guided by you, Holmes.
Have you noticed anything of significance here, Watson?
Nothing you've not remarked yourself, Holmes.
Good morning, Inspector. What do we have here?
Deceased John Doe. Stiff as a proverbial upper lip. Dead 8 hours at least from a crushing blow to the head. His pockets have been emptied. Robbery, I imagine.
Where was he killed, Inspector? And why have you moved the body?
Ah, Mr. Holmes, you always proceed immediately to the crux of the matter. I just told the lads that this body'd be moved. But how did you know?
Well, given his head wound, there ought to be more blood on the ground where he fell.
What? Oh, yeah, well, exactly my thought. He was certainly not done in here, then.
Correct. It was somewhere damp and dirty, and he was moved by a small person.
Oh, yeah. Next you'll be telling me what he had for his last tea.
Given time, perhaps. I can tell you now that he was an inquiry agent by profession. A dark-eyed, left-handed bachelor, and an ex-policeman, and a very foolish fellow. He was murdered by a hired killer.
Mr. Holmes, you exhaust my goodwill and try my patience when you talk like that. You surely do. Do I look like an idiot? You don't know all those things. You can't. You're just trying to show me off. Perhaps we'd better move along. Remember, interference in police matters is a criminal offense.
You lately said that you never received interesting cases, Gregson. I'm sure even you can see that such a remark was at best premature. Too much pride is not a good thing, Inspector. Good day. What can you tell me about how he was killed?
I'm sure you'll have opinions of your own about that. You usually do.
Have you discovered anything else, Inspector?
Nothing I can tell an amateur.
Constable, have you noticed anything that might help Inspector Gregson see this case more clearly?
I ain't seen nothing interesting except that elephant when I came in here.
Somehow that response does not surprise me. I refuse to believe that a crime conceived and executed in haste can leave no clue behind it, Watson.
I agree, Holmes. I'm sure the zoo has more to teach us. Let us continue. By the way, how do you know that Gardner was moved by a small person? And why did you not tell Gregson who Gardner was?
The answer to your first question is that the heels of Gardner's shoes and the cuffs of his trousers were encrusted with mud. He was dragged a fair distance. A large man would have picked up the corpse to move him. As for your second question, Doctor, I'm not in the business of supplying the deficiencies of the police.
Well, what can I do for you, gentlemen?
Does it seem to you appropriate, Watson, that the zoo's managing director, a man entrusted with the well-being of his charges, is so enamored of dead animals?
Oh, perhaps, Holmes. He could not bear to part with them once they'd passed on. A funeral would have been most inappropriate, and the alternative was to throw them in the trash.
Very generous and probably true, Watson. Thank you. Mr. Hollingston, I am Sherlock Holmes, and this is my colleague, Dr. Watson. Could you please tell us who found the body?
I almost tripped over it when I came to work this morning. Talk about starting the day off on the wrong foot.
When are the animal cages cleaned out?
About 6 p.m. while the animals are being fed. Why do you ask?
Could anyone on your staff have seen the murdered man?
As I told the inspector, everyone except Simon Kingsley leaves the premises at 7 p.m. Simon doesn't have much to do with people, but has an unusual rapport with all the animals. Felix the lion is a special friend. Passing strange if you ask me, but there it is, to each his own. Since Simon didn't sound the alarm, I assume he saw nothing.
May we have Mr. Kingsley's address? There are 1 or 2 points I would like him to clear up for me.
Of course. He lives alone in a flat in St. John's Wood. The address is 241 Grove End Road, just opposite Lord's. I should say that Inspector Gregson seemed quite uninterested in Simon.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
No, I'm afraid you've exhausted my meagre store of information.
Perhaps the lion cage deserves our scrutiny, Watson. What do you think?
There must always be time to visit the King of the Beasts, Holmes.
A noble beast at rest, eh, Watson?
No, I'm told that such an animal is at rest no less than 22 hours of every day.
Well, his present kingdom is pathetically small. There is not much in his surroundings to command his attention.
And little to command ours, I should say.
Don't be over hasty, Watson. Remember that careful observation is the foundation of good detective work. Do you see that glittering object, Watson? What do you suppose it is?
A piece of quartzite or some foil. If it's a gold sovereign, Holmes, the lion is welcome to it.